Was today told his collarbone injury will sideline him for 4 to 6 weeks, ending his season. But Nicky Winmar and Jason Heatley will play in the preliminary final after injury scares. Anthony Mithen, 10 News.
And that blow has been a crushing one for St Kilda and Everett. Let's cross live to Craig Hutchison, who's watching the Saints have a swim in Cheltenham. Craig, how has Everett responded to the news that his season is over?
Well, quarters was obviously a shattered Peter Everett, who arrived at the St Kilda Football Club this afternoon to a pretty warm reception from his teammates. Their hearts have all gone out to him, realising the fact that his season is beyond repair personally. Before the teammates headed down here this afternoon to the King Club for a bit of a leisurely swim and rehabilitation to get rid of some of those sore spots from the weekend. One of the first players on the phone today to Peter Everett was Big Lazar Vidovic, offering his condolences. He's still holed up at home himself with that knee injury, and that's where Peter Everett is headed himself tonight for a few videos, a bit of Nintendos and a bit of a chat to help overcome the bad times that are ahead as he watches his teammates complete their finals campaign. Everett, though, was good enough to take time to have a chat to Channel 10 this afternoon, and here's what he had to say.
Yeah, definitely it for now. As far as the doctors are concerned, and that, ruled me out. So, you know, I've got a crack in it, so that's it. So it's a mad Monday today for me.
When you found out last night, I mean, it must have been pretty bitter on the world, were you, given that everything has happened?
Yeah, I was flat, but as I said, like, it really hasn't hit home, I don't think yet. You know, we'll wait and see. You know, to watch them playing in the grand final or something like that, I think that'd be the hardest part. When you saw Longmire last year and things like that, I think that'd be the hardest time we got.
Practice through the extent of it, is it actually a full crack through the...
No, it's just cracked. They thought it might have been the actual joint here, but it's actually cracked through here. So, you know, it's going to be, you know, 4 to 6 normally, and being a ruckman, being a left-hander, it'll probably be, you know, probably 5 or 6, I'd say.
Spider Everett feeling the pain of the injury there, and he is fairly keen to catch up with this person who made an ironical mention to Spider's situation in Saturday's Herald Sun. He said that the players who are injured during the final series should be eligible to get premiership medallions, and that was before the game, of course, on Sunday. Big Spider Everett read that at the time and thought about it for a bit, and now he feels like he must be cursed by that letter in last Saturday's Herald Sun. Amazing situation. More news on the Saints, though, and some good news. We can tell you first here on 10 Sport that St Kilda will play its preliminary final on a Friday night at the MCG, while the Western Bulldogs will play on the Saturday, also at the MCG. So no Waverley final for the Saints, but they'd be very happy if they win with that extra day's break. It's a Friday night final at the MCG. A little bit more football news around the place. A big day planned at Joseph Gutnick's office on Wednesday, where the 4 applicants for the Melbourne coaching job will all meet the great man. Peter Schwab, Damien Drum, Neil Danaher and Greg Hutchison will all be there. Expect a decision on the Melbourne coaching job by possibly later in the week. Quarters, that's all from here at the King Club. It's back to you.
Thanks, Craig.
The Saints come marching home and make the grand final.
Mark, I think they can, but it's going to be a big ask. Unfortunately for them, they've run into North Melbourne, who are the ones that are doing all the marching at the moment. But there's a couple of things in their favour this week. One is North is going to have a short preparation, and they've had 2 very tough games. The other thing is they've got a potential for a lot of surprises. Injury has forced them to make changes, and nobody knows where Lowy, Winmar and Shanahan perhaps is going to play, and that may work in their advantage. And before training, I spoke with Stan Alves and asked him if there were any surprises in store.
Oh, look, we haven't settled our side, Neil. I mean, to be quite honest, I mean we were still unsure, and a fair bit was going to hinge on who we played. I mean, we couldn't get too far ahead of ourselves. We'd obviously talked to certain scenarios. Having said that, I'm a coach who likes to do as little change as possible. I think the things that have got us here are the things that I've got to stand in good stead. And at the end of the day, what I don't want to do is let my ego get in the way of us playing good footy. And I'm more concerned that my boys go out and know exactly what's required of them. They feel comfortable what needs to be done, and they can do that to their best.
A lot has been made of North's momentum today. It's all the talk in the papers. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, I think they justifiably earned that. There's no doubt. Probably at the 15-minute mark of the third quarter, if we'd asked them to start rolling the press then, it might have been a bit different. But the way they came back against a side that really had given them a tremendous hit out, I thought West Coast were very impressive. I think they've earned that.
Stan Alves there, just been announced as the Coach of the Year, so good news there for Stan and the Saints. Also here at training tonight, David Sierakowski, the man that most are tipped to be the replacement in the ruck for the big man Everett. He's trained well tonight and worked out in the ruck, looking to make history because, of course, his father Brian played in the '66 Premiership. That's all from here at Moorabbin. Back to you, Stephen.
Thanks to Neil Cordy.
This weekend.
It will be St Kilda's first preliminary final since 1972, and their clash against North on Friday night is shaping up as an absolute blockbuster. And one player in the spotlight is defender David Sierakowski, son of 1966 Premiership player Brian, who's expected to shoulder the rucking responsibilities against Corey McKernan in the absence of Peter Everett and Lazar Vidovic.
I think you've just got to stay with him, you know, in the ruck contest. You've just got to give it everything, you know. You've got to jump into him and just make sure you put body on body and make a contest. I think, you know, that's what the club will be after, is just a contest with him, you know, at every ruck contest.
Over at Arden Street, the Roos were back to business tonight, although they're expected to have a pretty light week on the training track.
I think St Kilda going into the final series was probably the form side of the competition, along with Geelong, and now they've had a break as well, so I'd say, you know, it's definitely going to be our toughest game.
Good evening, everyone. St Kilda and North Melbourne are being put through their final paces before Friday night's preliminary final at the MCG. For the Saints, tonight is their last chance to look at the candidates to fill the big man spot left by Peter Everett. Craig Hutchison is at Moorabbin. Craig, who do you think will get the nod?
Well, Quarters, no decision has been made yet. That decision will be made tonight. Coach Stan Alves says that there's 3 players in line for selection. Shane Wakeland and Brett Cook would be the front runners. I'm pretty confident they will go with Cook. That does seem to be the male, despite the fact that he hasn't played much this season. Will create a matchup problem for North Melbourne, and for that reason I would think he will play in the ruck this weekend. Don't be surprised also Matthew Young gets another chance, maybe at the expense of Jason Trinettes. That will come down tonight. The great news though from Moorabbin tonight is Jason Heatley and Nicky Winmar's form on the track. They're fantastic, showing no signs of those injuries, and they're pumped up to take on the Roos on Friday night, as are all the Saints, including Coach Stan Alves. Here's what he had to say before training.
I'm supposed to play this down, aren't I? But I just find this whole thing exciting and magnificent. And, you know, it's like everything you say. I mean, we all have goals in life, and we're getting pretty close to some we've set ourselves, but it's pretty hollow if you don't enjoy the journey, and that's what we're trying to do. I mean, we're trying to soak this up and enjoy it, but at the same time not lose focus of the job in hand. I mean, if we don't accomplish what we want to do on Friday night, well, you know, it wouldn't be worth it. So we want to do that as well, but as I said, I mean, it's just important and it's just great for the blokes, and I mean, to see them now, and they're just enjoying everything that's going on, and so they should.
Coach Stan Alves, whose Saints are looking pretty sharp on the track beside me at the moment. A fantastic atmosphere here tonight. The car park's full, and the animal cage is just like the old days when football was played here regularly. Back in the era when Neil Cordy was still playing. He joins us now from Arden Street, where he's watching North.
Evening. St Kilda and North Melbourne have had their last training runs ahead of Friday night's preliminary final. While North spent only half an hour on the track, the Saints were out for a spirited 90 minutes. Andrew Bensley begins our coverage.
Oh, when the Saints go marching in.
It's been 6 years since Saints supporters have had anything to sing about during September, but tonight at training they were in full flight. And while the finals are a new experience for many of these fans, not so coach Stan Alves, who was a premiership player for North Melbourne in 1977.
We all have goals in life, and we're getting pretty close to some we've set ourselves, but it's pretty hollow if you don't enjoy the journey.
Jason Heatley again trained impressively after injuring his ankle nearly a fortnight ago. He'll be looking to repeat St Kilda's round 14 win over North Melbourne when he kicked a bagful.
And he has got goal number 9.
To our guys' credit, we've really worked hard, you know, all through the pre-season, and look, something like this just hasn't happened by fluke. It's been a lot of hard work, and you know, the boys have really got a purpose to play for now.
And here at Moorabbin, I can tell you that the St Kilda team will line up on Friday night in their traditional home Guernsey that they've used this year. And it could be good news for former Fitzroy ruckman, Brett Scott, who will most likely, or Brett Cook I should say, is most likely to take the place of Peter Everett. No other injury worries here at Moorabbin. That's the same scenario at Arden Street. Here's Michael Roberts.
A prone.
We're the pride of South Australia.
It has hit St Kilda fans particularly hard this year. Their last bout was 26 years ago. Saints fans new to late-night lineups for grand final tickets.
Okay, I need 4 of those.
At the same time, fewer than expected Adelaide fans were slipping and sliding about a sponsored tent city near Ballarat.
Make it look like it's really cold.
In a week's time, Aussie rules fans will file back into the MCG for the final time this year, with winning the only thing on their minds.
Following a 26-year grand final drought, St Kilda are within one game of a premiership of fairy tale proportions. Last night, 31-point winners over North Melbourne. Saints coach Stan Alves says their success has been all about respect.
Back at the scene of last night's triumph to survey his next opponent, Saints coach Stan Alves still had time to savour the moment. So Stan, how's it feel after a night's sleep?
Well, it's a bit like the weather. The sun's shining, the sky's blue, and, you know, everything's rosy.
After the dust had settled, Alves was clear in his mind of St Kilda's constant motivating force.
Now, if you respect yourself and you respect the opposition, that means you're going to have to perform at your best. And if you perform at your best, some exciting things can happen.
Not surprisingly, St Kilda's thoughts have turned rapidly to next week.
Well, we're confident, Neil. I mean, we're there. I mean, that's for a start. I mean, we've got a chance, and now it's, you know, up to the Bulldogs or, you know, or the Crows to fight out for that. But we'll give it our best shot.
For North Melbourne, all their concerns were now with the health of star ruckman Corey McKernan, the defending Premier's chances sinking with the shoulder dislocation. Today, the bad news was confirmed, a shoulder reconstruction within the week. The good news, however, is the big man is expected to be ready for the first game of season 98. Neil Cordy, 10 News.
Yeah, I think the Pittman thing is affecting him greatly. But the Bulldogs, you know, just shows their professionalism, and really I thought that they had a lot of control of the game but couldn't do much on the scoreboard until Adelaide got away by about 7 points. It seemed to sting them into action, and they've, you know, bounced back into going with a nice little sort of 5-goal lead at half-time. It's not a bad way to go to the big interval.
Yeah, Stan could sit. It's been a long wait, but St Kilda is through to its first grand final since 1971. After a stunning win over reigning Premier North Melbourne, the Saints were sensational across the ground, with full forward Jason Heatley booting 7 goals in the side's 31-point victory, ending the Roos' hopes of back-to-back flags. Mark Doran was there.
The Saints cooled down after scorching the MCG turf last night, still wondering when the force of what they'd achieved would hit home.
Just taking it as if it's another game, but, you know, it's going to hit me more, I think, towards the end of the week when Saturday comes.
Apart from a few ice packs, there were no obvious injuries.
Just got a little bit of a corky in the thigh, but a bit of ice and physio each day this week. I'll come up.
The Saints doing everything as routinely as possible, including nursing hangovers.
The Saints are through.
The Saints marched into their first grand final for 26 years, an already strong bond between a committed bunch of blokes growing even stronger. After singing the song, the players were reminded that getting there is only half the battle, but told to enjoy the moment, and that they did.
11 years I've been playing this caper, and you know, watching them every year, and it just hasn't sunk in yet, but no, can't wait for next week.
The last half of the game, it's a bit of a blur. You don't actually remember much of it because you're just so excited during the whole thing.
Beating last year's premiers convincingly in a preliminary final. It's hard to keep a lid on it, but I'll be doing my best.
The bond between the players is fantastic, and I think that's what's got us through so far. Hopefully we get through one more. Can go one more? Oh, I think so.
Victory was set up by the usual hard-running and prolific ball-getting abilities of Harvey and Burke, who shared 63 possessions, and the powerful bodywork of Stuart Lowe. Then there was the little matter of Jason Heatley's 7 goals.
How about that?
Carey threatened to produce one out of the box.
And Carey throws it on the boot, it bounces. It's good.
But Stan Alves matched his men up brilliantly.
And I think we can do it. I think I've got a bunch of guys who've shown me that they've got the ability to focus.
For opposite number Dennis Pagan, the early loss of Corey McKernan in a gang tackle said it all.
They were a fraction harder than us in the first quarter and won the more 50-50 disputed ball situations.
Mark Doran, 7 Nightly News.
See red, white and blue, I know that much.
And the fans inspired Modra.
Good incentive to get back on my feet and get ready for next year's grand final.
The sea of red, black and white swamped Crows fans, but the visitors were just as vocal. And despite being in enemy territory, Adelaide fans weren't afraid to voice their views.
Saints want our chance tomorrow.
we're very confident we're going to take that back with us tomorrow.
As if Adelaide needed any incentive to win the flag, sponsors have raised the stakes and are offering the club bonuses up to $100,000 to win the premiership. And Crows fans are confident they'll have plenty to sing about tomorrow night when they win football's holy grail. Michelle Stamper, 10 News.
Meanwhile, the Saints have a secret weapon in their quest for a second premiership. They've evoked the spirit of the legendary Trevor Barker in their lead-up to the game.
The death of Saints champion Trevor Barker in April last year stunned and saddened the football world. His partner of 10 years, Melinda Coker, says a St Kilda premiership meant everything to him.
Most of all, I just know he'll be so proud of his boys. I mean, the younger guys and just all the team at St Kilda and the staff have just been, they've just put such a huge effort into this grand final.
Along with the other guys, that can't be out there with us, they'll certainly be in the back of everyone's mind, especially myself.
Coach Stan Alves says Barker was largely responsible for shaping the team of today.
These guys in their formative time at St Kilda, Trevor Barker, really was a huge influence.
Alves says he won't even need to mention Trevor's name on grand final day.
And we all know in the back of our minds and use it as motivation, and I can't see why we can't use it again.
Barker captained the Saints for 3 years from 1983 and played 231 games, but never a grand final.
Certainly, I think it's in the back of everyone's minds, that it's something we can perhaps do for him, and hopefully he's going to be watching it all.
His father, Jack, says Trevor always said a second premiership was just a matter of time for the Saints.
Yeah, he would have been wrapped. I'll tell you what, he would have been wrapped. It was his one ambition to see Everett St Kilda win a flag.
James Sutherland, 10 News.
The Saints don't.
Good evening, everyone. St Kilda and Adelaide look like going into tomorrow's AFL Grand Final with the teams they selected last night. But the Saints may have one trick up their sleeve when they run on to the MCG.
That might not be the last time Saints fans see the red, black and white version of the haka before the season's out. The rumour mill has it that the Saints might just spring the routine on the hallowed MCG turf tomorrow. But Coach Stan Alves was giving nothing away at today's parade.
We'll wait and see. We've got to do a job there. That's what we've got to do.
Not ruling it out? Not ruling it out?
No.
Co-captain Nathan Burke didn't rule it out either, but he was sure how he and Stuart Lowe would approach the toss of the coin.
We'll both go out there and one might toss and one will call. We'll figure it out somehow.
You'll both be out there with a cup as well, I suppose?
Well, hopefully, yes, that's the plan.
Now, some talk about the haka maybe tomorrow. Any word?
No, not before the game. I think we'll be focused pretty much on the game.
What about afterwards?
Well, you never know what might happen.
Haka or no haka, everyone is crowing about the Saints, including Nicky Winmar's greatest fan.
How many goals will we win by?
I hope 10.
10. What do you reckon, Nicky? Good game, 16 points.
With the parade over, the coaches and captains met the media for the last time, and Alves, searching for cup glory, spoke of his side's special ingredient.
It's got to come down to a fair bit of the feeling and the passion for each other and doing things without second-guessing what you're going to do.
And the only man to bring a premiership cup home to Moorabbin had some of his own words of encouragement.
Good luck, and I hope you can join us, the 21 players and yourself that was fortunate enough to be in the 1966 premiership.
But the last word goes to the army of red, black and white, destined to go hoarse, singing this little ditty tomorrow. Anthony Mithen, 10 News.
And the Adelaide Crows arrived in Melbourne today to soak up their share of the grand final hype. But one Crow not on a high is Simon Tregenza. After failing to force his way into the team, Tregenza seems to be interested in a change of club.
While the Crows today enjoyed the spoils of a grand final appearance, there was a shattered man missing. Simon Tregenza is believed to be on the verge of quitting the club after being left out of the side in a decision coach Malcolm Blight said was tough.
I mean, we named him emergencies, but in real terms, I'd love to see him play another game, another couple. I think he's just missed so much footy this year and hasn't gone through the pre-season save an Aaron Keating, who's only played a couple of games for us.
But nothing was going to stop the 21 players soaking up the atmosphere.
Obviously, the parade's a big part of the grand final week, and You know, we're looking to soak up the atmosphere, and it's been fantastic. Have you been over for a grand final before? I have. I've been to one parade, but it's certainly a different kettle of fish actually being in it.
And there was one man not playing who was simply delighted to be involved in the day.
Yeah, we've had a good appearance. A good rock up.
How's the reaction been to you here today?
No, it's been fantastic. Like I said, we've had a lot of supporters come from Interstate, so it's good.
Looking forward to tomorrow. It's a bittersweet, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, I just hope we can go home and with the win. It'll be fantastic.
But despite the relaxed attitude, it was hard to squeeze much out of the key players on tomorrow's big match, let alone whether Sean Wren will start in the ruck.
Still don't know the proper team yet, so we'll find out tonight what our roles are.
When are you going to work that out, after training or beforehand?
I suppose in the team meeting tonight, mate.
Look, the 21 will run out as they are.
Don't know. Someone who might slip over going down the race.
Yeah, that's true. No, I should say that. At this stage, the 21, I agree with that, Stan. No, it's a good call, Stan.
But Blight was serious long enough to tell just how much a win for the Crows would mean to the club.
Until they win a premiership, they'll be a disorganised footy club. Well, the Crows will have to be a soft footy club until they win one.
And the Adelaide Crows are finalising their preparations at the moment at the Junction Oval. Ironically, deep in the heart of St Kilda territory. Craig Hutchison, I imagine it will be a short, sharp session.
Well, Quarters, it was very much like one of those runs you claim you're going. Very short and relaxed tonight. Went for about 30 minutes here, the Adelaide Crows players, just having a light gallop before the game tomorrow. They certainly are looking forward to it. About 2,000 fans greeted them tonight. They've flocked into town. A very enthusiastic crowd. Among that crowd, Michael Malthouse, though he wasn't quite as enthusiastic, just sitting and having a bit of a look. The players very relaxed, as you can see on screen. Only the 21 trained tonight. I reckon it's probably the first grand final side to train the night before a game in quite some time, although that is their routine and they have been loath to change it. Just quickly, it looks like they will go in with the three ruckmen tomorrow. No change at all. That means Aaron Keating will play and will probably start in the ruck. A fantastic story. It's only his third game of football and two of those have been in finals. A little bit more football news floating around today. Of course, it is the season of retirements and you can expect Bill Brownless of Geelong to announce his retirement next week. And finally, Quarters, there are some confident St Kilda fans out there. Already the St Kilda Premiership T-shirt has been made for tomorrow's game. Interesting to see Waverley Park's name on it. So St Kilda 1997 Premiers. Well, I don't think this T-shirt comes as any surprise to you because I pinched it off your desk a little bit earlier this afternoon.
I can tell you there's a few Adelaide Crows ones floating around as well. Thanks, Craig Hutchison. See you tomorrow. To my tip for the big one. And St Kilda will have no excuses. I think they'll beat a gallant Adelaide team by just over 4 goals.
The Adelaide invasion is in full swing, and in one of the biggest turnouts for years, 100,000 people cheered on the Saints and Crows at the traditional Grand Final parade. Darren Linton begins our Grand Final countdown.
The Saints are on home turf and the Crows are a long way from home. Thousands of Crows fans have already arrived, but they were quickly lost in a sea of red, white and black.
Come on, Adelaide! Take it up home!
They're feeling a bit outnumbered today,
Yes, a little bit outnumbered, but we'll take it home with us tomorrow.
For all the players, this is a new experience, and the instruction from both coaches is simply to enjoy it.
I haven't been to a grand final yet. I always said the only grand final I go to would be my first one, so my own, and I'm pretty happy to be there.
Yeah, I've always sort of wanted to be a part of it all, and so this is just part of it. It's a time where we can just sit back and enjoy it, and we'll get back to the club tonight and settle down and really focus on the job at hand tomorrow.
Yeah, we're in a very envious position. We've got to make sure we do the right thing by ourselves.
Robert Harvey was only looking for one face in the crowd, his biggest fan and fiancée Danielle Hicks.
It's been a wonderful week. Of course I'm very excited for Robert because this is what he works towards.
The Adelaide players were roundly jeered for most of the journey, but there were some willing to cuddle a crow.
It's been pretty enjoyable, although we're getting a bit of a hostile reception, but I think that's to be expected with a Melbourne team against Adelaide team.
We've brought a lot of supporters. It's been fantastic. I mean, great support last week, and I reckon we're going to have a fair support tomorrow as well.
On the steps of the old Treasury building, the captains got their hands on the game's richest reward, but only briefly. Police escort then helped the Saints bus get to a team meeting where they're planning to get the cup for keeps.
St Kilda, St Kilda, St Kilda, St Kilda.
We got a score to settle with the Grand Prix, and I reckon Saturday might be it.
I'm actually barracking for St Kilda.
The definite losers tomorrow will be the Footy Louts.
Make sure that you enjoy yourself and let others also enjoy themselves.
MCG ground staff will work to rule, but nothing will delay the opening bounce. Darren Linton, 7 Nightly News.
And well, the Saints are already one up on the Crows, of course. They've tasted the thrill of a premiership. But that was more than 30 years ago. Now they're hungry for another dose.
St Kilda fans were dining out on memories of 1966 and hoping their team can create history again. Among them, some of the key players in that one grand final win.
The atmosphere is great, excitement's terrific, and we just hope that they can win it.
To win a premiership, you've got to have a good side and you've got to get the breaks, and we're just hoping the boys get the breaks tomorrow and play somewhere near their best.
Others were keen to show their true colours. The 66 premiership, just a childhood memory.
My father was a died in the war St Kilda supporter back in the 60s. And I still remember him coming staggering home when I was a 10-year-old from the grand final.
And some came all the way from the USA.
I've had a bet with my attorney here that if the Saints get into the grand final, he's got to pay for my ticket to come over.
And you won.
And this year I won.
A warning for the Crows from the man who dresses like this on match days. Behind the mask, Tony Green.
The Crow fans have given us a fair serve on every trip over to Adelaide, and payback time. We'll leave it at that.
And in response to the threat from across the border, Melbourne threw its weight behind the Saints today. The red, white and black bobbing up all over town. Balloons and streamers on gates, banners on pubs under renovation, schools, shop fronts and even petrol stations. And at the St Kilda souvenir shop, the fans just couldn't get enough as they stocked up for the big game.
There you go, thank you.
Hopefully this week, fingers crossed, St Kilda can win this weekend.
Mark Illy, 7 Nightly News.
After a brave fight, Nicky's dad, Neil, died this afternoon of cancer. Nicky and his father had been talking via video all week, Neil praying for his son to win the flag and the Norm Smith medal. Nicky took the news well and says he's now more determined than ever to play well. So good luck, Nicky. Our thoughts are with you.
Welcome back to a rowdy Moorabbin social club where preparations are continuing for what the Saints hope will be their biggest party in the club's 100-year history. But while the Saints are 3-1 on for the flag, Crows coach Malcolm Blight believes his charges can cause a big upset. Mark Doran previews the big match.
As the Saints arrived for their final grand final duty, there was no sign of Peter Everett, adding weight to a fresh rumour he was secretly working towards a last-minute inclusion. But the sight of a glass of amber fluid in his hand put paid to that.
Yeah, I had a crack at it and did the best shot, but unfortunately, yeah, no go.
Hope for a draw?
Yeah, I'd love a draw, maybe even 2, I think.
While Spider was drowning his sorrows, Robert Neal couldn't stop pinching himself. The 23-year-old shattered at missing the Saints' preliminary final, but told late last night he'd made it for the big one, his first senior game since round 2.
It's an absolute surprise to me, and it hasn't really sunk in. I don't think I'll probably try to run out in front of everyone tomorrow.
Robert Harvey was allowed to run unchecked in St Kilda's last clash with the Crows in round 15. The Brownlow medalist had 43 possessions, but the Saints lost by 10 points. They haven't been beaten in 9 games since.
There's a lot of combinations to Robert Harvey than just Robert Harvey, so in answer to your question, I haven't, so that's fine.
You haven't decided?
No, I haven't answered your question.
It is a very dangerous thing to oversimplify the game, to think it's just going to come down to one particular area of the ground.
Behind closed doors after training last night, Stan Alves told his players to imagine they were lined up on the MCG, waiting for the national anthem. Wary the young side could lose focus at such an emotional moment, he told his boys to fix their minds firmly on the opening bounce. Blight put Adelaide through one last workout this afternoon to clear their heads, sharing the belief that grand finals can be won and lost in the mind.
Either the opposition's pressure or something goes wrong up there, so either one of those two options are the things that either wins or lose grand finals.
And Saints ruckman David Sirikoski was given a bit of last-minute advice of his own today. Father Brian played in St Kilda's only premiership in 1966.
Anything more than a point will do me fine.
I think realistically that we'll probably win by about 5 or 6 goals.
Wow.
Mark Doran, 7 Nightly News.
It's time now for the grand final tips of the bearded burbler and ex-Saint champion of 57 wonderful games. That's what he told me today, Rex Hunt.
the fisherman and the father of the year for the last occasion in '97. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Owen.
Owen who?
Owen the Saints. Owen the Saints. I tell you what, we can all laugh now, and St Kilda are laughing, but Adelaide have got some plans to spoil the Saints picnic.
Yeah, they certainly have. You wouldn't take them lightly, would you? I mean, that Big Wren is a sensational player. They got Pittman back, and I just think that perhaps all the football public here in Melbourne is thinking Saints, 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 and that may just play into the hands of the Crows.
Well, Stan's handled it beautifully, and the kids and that sort of thing, but there are two teams in the competition, and I think we Melburnians should never, ever forget that fact. Before we give our selection, thank you very much to Gary Ablett and, of course, the Diesel himself.
And also Sticks Kernahan
and
too.
for magnificent contribution to our great game. But, folks, our selection, Timmy and I and most people in Melbourne are selecting St Kilda. We don't care whether it's 30 or 1 point. I've enjoyed this year, Tim, and I thank you very much for being a part of it.
Thank you, Rex. And can you just do your version of the haka before we leave? Inspirational stuff.
Good stuff. See ya.
Oh, it's frightening, isn't it? Well, the AFL lost its third champion for the...
This special grand final eve edition of Today Tonight, live from the MCG. First tonight, Interstate Rivalry gone mad. As tens of thousands of fans prepare to yell themselves hoarse tomorrow, we decided to gauge public reaction in each of the competing states. And to add a bit of spice to the experiment, our reporters Glenn Conley and Frank Pangallo were ordered to carry the enemy colours into home territory.
Where angels fear to tread.
It's the passion, it's the grassroots, man in the street, raw-bone passion that a lot of South Australians can equate with.
Fools rushing where wise men never go.
We're looking forward to kicking...
Go on. Go on.
Kicking your butt.
Rush in.
Everybody's welcome in Victoria during Grand Final week. Well, as long as you're Victorian, of course.
What are you? Well, don't you want to see Adelaide win? No, I don't. Be great for the competition. You're all inbred. No competition, no. Well, what? You're all inbred.
South Aussies, to put it simply, they hate us here, probably never more so since the Crows spoiled their Grand Final party.
I reckon the best team should win.
And? Yeah. That'll be Adelaide, of course. Let's practice the victory song. All right, we'll do it. Okay, here we go. We're the pride of South Australia, the mighty Adelaide Crows. You know, what's really funny is how everybody a South Australian bumps into is suddenly a Saints fan. You're not St Kilda supporters.
It doesn't matter, mate. We're Victorians.
That disgusts me because I used to be a Fitzroy supporter.
Even Ron Barassi?
We're going to knock you silly, mate.
Are you serious? There's not one Victorian here who thinks that the Crows have got a chance in Hades.
Oh, no, of course, there's plenty. You just haven't spoken the right one. The intelligent people understand that the Crows could fluke it. Oh, we're going to St Kilda, shortly to be known as Adelaide Boulevard.
As a Crow through and through, I decided to give St Kilda a taste of what's to come. You know, some of that old red, gold and blues, hoping they'd lay out the welcome mat for the Crows' invasion. It's a catchy tune, but it sounds best played, well, really loud. Then, onto the very heart of sainthood, hallowed Moorabbin, trying to teach some sense to the 12,000 or so disciples watching the last rites before the big game.
Hey, make way for a Crow supporter, everyone!
See you later, Crow.
I'll see you on Saturday at the MCG.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will.
We'll win it.
No, you won't.
Kill him.
Will you?
Yeah.
We're going to be there. We're going to take the premiership trophy with
Oh,
us.
yeah.
Oh, you're being hard. Give me my hat back.
Just go back over the board and let me see some real men.
Why do you make Interstate fans welcome? Yeah, the red. There he is.
I'm tipping St Kilda. I just think the Crows might show that having to win 4 games to win the grand final might just be beyond them. But I hope you lose by a point.
Finally, proof the Vics can't take a trick. Look what happens when we get our jumper up Jeff's snout.
Can we talk football? Can we talk football?
I've got to keep running.
Can you give us your tip for the footy grand final?
Excuse me. Could you
By how much?
Could you get out, please?
By how much? 10 goals?
Could you please get out?
Righto. Now, you're willing to kiss a Crow's ball.
No worries at all. Oh, that's horrible.
Run for cover, mate. Run for cover.
Now, this is the heart of enemy territory, Football Park, Adelaide. Now, a message for St Kilda fans going to the game tomorrow. These guys aren't just hostile, they're downright dangerous. I found out the hard way. You are the worst team in the world!
You will lose by 10 goals, like the Bulldogs should have lost by 10 goals. We're not going to kick 21 points this time. We're going to kick 21 goals.
Now, sir, surely you don't think that Adelaide is going to take our cup away?
Yeah, I do actually. Pretty silly if I didn't think that outside bullies in Adelaide.
Oh, them boys over there in the Crows uniforms, mate, I've seen them before. They're coming to get you, they're going to kill you, mate. I'll look out.
Took up the hosiery too, the losers on Saturday, of course.
Go, Sainers.
Go, we hate him!
These are free. Free socks, everyone. Free socks, everyone. For whoever will sing the St Kilda theme song now. Free socks. Come on over and sing the St Kilda theme song.
Now, that's very embarrassing.
I don't find it embarrassing at all. I'm actually quite proud of it.
Your mother dressed you this morning?
South Australia is in the midst of an election campaign. Not that anyone really cares. We broke into Premier John Olsen's health policy speech to offer a couple of saintly gifts.
No, that I couldn't come to. You couldn't? No, definitely no. The Crows are going to go in. If they perform like they did last Saturday, they'll be bringing home the Shield on Saturday night.
The Shield? Wrong sport, pal.
Ha ha. And I'll see you next Saturday, and I look forward to the Premier's Cup coming to South Australia to replace the Grand Prix that you took from us.
The whole of South Australia is plastered with Crow colours, from live cows to, well, dead ones. And the song, that damn song, is playing everywhere.
You don't think we're going a little far here, do you, folks? Well, next, we'll see about the weather.
We'll be back shortly.
I've spent the last 3 days in Adelaide trying to find a sensible South Australian who knows what they're talking about when it comes to footy. Well, I've finally done it. What do you reckon, Tone? Saints for the flag? The original Adelaide Crow, 82-year-old Adelaide Mary Crow, loves footy memorabilia. Her house is full of it, and so is she.
To Adelaide, what a name. Best wishes, Graham Corns. Chris McDermott, Ben Hart, Graham Corns, Mark Bickley, David, whatever his name is, Andrew Jarman, Eddie Hocking. Where are those nice TV boys gone?
But it's the average intelligent supporter in the street who deserves the final say.
Did I ask to be put on TV? No, I didn't.
And I'm happy to say that both Frank and Glenn came through their ordeals without a scratch. Now, after the break, all the fun of the grand final parade.
Let's go, Saints! Let's go! Let's go, Saints! Let's go! Let's go, Saints! Let's go, Saints! Let's go! Let's go, Saints! Let's go! Let's go, Saints! Let's go!
Well, welcome back to the MCG. Now, tomorrow the Saints and Crows will battle it out here for the AFL's greatest prize, the Premiership Cup. But whoever wins it will have to wrestle it from Richard Fitzgerald and our footy expert Ron Barassi, who join me now from the middle of the hallowed turf.
Well, Naomi, that's the truth. What a week for me. I've held the Brownlow medal in the middle of the MCG and now the holy grail of the AFL, the Premiership Cup. An expected 90,000 people will fill this stand. An extra 8 million people right around Australia will tune into the coverage on the 7 network, and then 250 million people are expected to watch it worldwide. Now, when it comes to grand finals, there's a man who is a real expert. As a player and a coach, he has appeared in 17 and been successful in 10 of them. Ron Barassi, welcome.
Thank you, Richard.
Now, what is it like?
It's absolutely sensational. It's very hard to describe, but I used to come down as a player down that race in Fairningham. You wouldn't even touch the ground till about the centre here. That was the sort of energy from the crowd. In fact, one of the games was a coaching game, I think 1970, 121,000, which is a lot of people, and you're buoyed up by the occasion. There's absolutely no doubt at all the occasion gets to the players, and perhaps experience helps you along the road after you've had one or two. Now, my first one was a losing one, and I then felt the difference between winning and losing the next year, and there's a vast difference. So what the players have got to do, Richard, soak it all in, but there's a game to be won.
I'm sure the champagne tastes a lot sweeter when you're drinking it out of this.
Well, you don't have it if you don't win.
No, well, very quickly, a tip. Who do you think?
St Kilda.
By?
10 points.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, listen, also quickly, a sad note. Nicky Winmar's father has passed away today. Very quickly, what impact do you think that might have on the team?
Well, I think it might help the team, but I'm not sure about Nicky, because I don't know the person. He'll be grieving tonight. That might take a bit out of him, but it's just something that you have to, or the other players have to take in their stride. I mean, that's a shocking thing to say, but it has to be done.
Okay, well, all our thoughts, of course, are with Nicky and the St Kilda football team, and we have to get this cup back now, so I'll take it if you like, Ron.
No, I'll take it.
No.
I'm going to take it. I want it home with my collection.
All right, well, we'll both take it then. Back to you, Naomi.
OK, Richard. And of course, our hearts do go out to Nicky Winmar and his family at this very sad time. Now, today, an estimated 100,000 people lined the city streets to catch a glimpse of their heroes during the traditional grand final parade. We sent Brian Smith to catch up with some of the main players.
31 years, how does it feel to at last be in another grand final?
Great. I just hope they can go forward and win from here.
It's a fantastic atmosphere in the street.
It is actually. It's built up. We've been here since 10 and it's built up so good.
Stanley, how does it feel? 24 hours to go?
Oh, well, it is a wonderful experience. I mean, it's humbling. All the people to be here, it's just fantastic.
Justin, how does it feel for you?
Well, very exciting. But, you know, we've got a job here tomorrow, so I don't want to get too carried away with it. But it's nice to see everyone here.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks very much.
Robert, how does it feel, mate?
Good, Brian, yeah. It's obviously a great turnout again by the St Kilda supporters. Obviously, they'll be there tomorrow and they've been there all week. Let's hope we can do the right thing and win.
Good on you, Robert. Good luck tomorrow. A little more than 24 hours to go.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Really looking forward to it. Just soaking up the atmosphere at the moment, and then we'll switch on a bit later this afternoon.
Well, it's been a great comeback for you, hasn't it? I mean, leaving St Kilda to the Swans and back home.
Yeah, back home, and look, I'm just wrapped. I'm just really excited for everyone and all the supporters. You know, people have stuck with us for many years, so we're going to do the right thing by them tomorrow.
Jason Daniels, good luck.
Cheers, thanks.
Nice game to come back to. It's back to your third of the season.
Your first final too, so it's terrific. Good luck.
How does it feel being in the grand final?
Oh, it's great. And today is obviously very much a part of grand final week, the parade, and we've just come along to enjoy the atmosphere, and yeah, then we'll train tonight and we'll get down to business then.
Malcolm, how does it feel, mate?
Oh, it's good, right? Yeah. It's good. It's a fair bit of a sore than the other mob, but I think the boys enjoy it.
24 hours to go. You on edge at all, or your usual relaxed self?
We'll worry about it tomorrow, eh?
Fine, Malcolm. Good luck. The grand final, looking forward to it. 24 hours to go.
Most certainly are. And if the Melbourne media keep saying we can't play football, that's wonderful, because it's worked 3 weeks in a row. It might work again tomorrow.
Well, an estimated crowd of between 15 and 20,000 here at the old Treasury building at the conclusion of the motorcade. Some Interstate people have never seen such a turnout. They're amazed. So it augurs well for a great grand final tomorrow at the MCG.
Pretty sweet. All these Saints supporters out here. Good to see them, I reckon. 20 goals tomorrow. 20 goals. Go Saints!
And next on Today Tonight, the history of the Saints.
St.Kilda, what sort of jersey are you going to wear?
I think we better ring the police. There has been an escapee from one of the asylums there, Sam. What is that behind us?
That is a piece of crud.
Off you go, Andrew. Off you go, son.
Tomorrow, all eyes will be on the two AFL teams competing for the glory of the Premiership Cup. But it'll also be the end of months of work by an army of MCC officials and workers. Overseeing it all is Melbourne Cricket Club General Manager Dr John Lill, who's been playing down the threat of industrial action by the MCC gatekeepers. I spoke to him a short time ago. John, the gatekeepers are planning industrial action tomorrow. What sort of effect will that have?
Well, I don't believe it'll have any at all, actually. They've threatened that and done some things the last couple of games, and it really hasn't had any impact at all.
So what's your advice to fans? Should they be trying to get here a bit earlier?
Well, I think always you should get here early if you want to, but bear in mind, Naomi, the gates open at 7:30 tomorrow morning. The game doesn't start till 2:45. There's a lot of time to get in, so if you're planning to be late, I guess you should come a bit early, but there should be plenty of time for people to get in.
So what sort of crowd are you expecting tomorrow?
Oh, somewhere between 95 and 100,000.
So can we be assured that there won't be a repeat of the Bledisloe Cup with all those seats going begging on the day?
You can't be assured. The members have a choice as to whether they wish to come. The weather may be bad. I haven't heard, but I assume it's being televised live. So they have a choice whether they want to come or not.
You did actually sell some of those.
Yes, we did, yes.
Keep in reserve.
About 1,000, and we've sold some to our restricted members as well, which we have been doing for the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, John, thank you for joining us today, and good luck for tomorrow. We look forward to it.
Thank you. I hope it's a great game.
When St Kilda run onto the MCG tomorrow, they'll be carrying the hopes of generations of club diehards. You see, the Saints have only ever won one grand final ever. Richard Fitzgerald takes a stroll down memory lane and remembers St Kilda's only glimpse of glory to date.
31 years ago, and the Saints of the 60s prepared to enter the history books. But before they got to that one day in September 1966, St Kilda had been a club more famous for its play off the field than on. According to St Kilda historian Russell Holmesbury, things changed for the team in the late 50s when a new coach and a coach in waiting joined the club.
Jeans was a fellow who had started at the club in 1955, and they were absolutely rock bottom as a player. And he started in 1955. The next year, Alan Killigrew came as coach, and Killigrew had an enormous respect for Jeans.
We were always deemed to be a social club, and but Killigrew was able to put a bit of fight back into us, and I think he laid the foundations, and he certainly was one of the best, or the coach that gave me most of my ideas how to go about coaching.
On the stand side, the players set themselves up. Stewart goes a mile and pulls down a good one.
The club developed champion players. Alan Jeans went from being an ordinary player to an extraordinary coach.
25 minutes to make a name for yourself like you never made before.
In season 97, the Saints have won their last 9 matches. No such dream run in 66, especially for legendary captain Darryl Baldock.
I hurt my knee again on the Thursday night before the grand final and had a cortisone injection in it. And on the Friday, I didn't think I would play.
He had an injection in his shoulder, he had an injection in his knee, and he had an injection in his foot, and he played on the Saturday. These are the sacrifices, and this is what the real good players can make. They can play with these type of injuries, they can overcome them.
Well, here's the bounce of the ball to start the 1966 grand final.
The game was against Collingwood. The Magpies had beaten the Saints twice that year. Scores were tied in the last quarter when the most famous point in AFL history was kicked.
Potter has it, he can't break clear. It's taken by Green. That's a point. That's a point. St Kilda in front. St Kilda in front.
Moments later, it was all over.
There's Murray's kick to the wing position on the outer side. There's the siren. St Kilda have got it. They've got it.
And the crowd are giving a standing ovation to a great game by two great clubs. And look at the St Kilda players.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate you all, first of all, and I'd like you all to charge up and drink a toast to our coach.
To achieve it and to see the look on so many people's faces that they thought this day would never come, and to be able to be a part of that, yes, it does make you feel very good.
Since then, the fortunes of St Kilda have been mixed, but thousands of fans have stuck by them, hoping such scenes can be repeated tomorrow.
When the Saints go marching in.
And we're back with more in just a moment. Next week, have a great weekend. Go the Saints, and we'll see you on Monday.
Get out there and win.
There's a lot more to St Kilda than really meets the eye. There's stars like Robert Harvey, come and watch him fly. Stuart Lowe and Nicky Winmar, Ozzie Jones and Nathan Burke. When the boys run out, you can bet on it, Stan Alves will make it work. Come on, St Kilda, in there and fight. Out there and at 'em, show 'em your might. Come on, St Kilda, don't let 'em in. Fight like the devil, get out there and win. Come on, St Kilda, in there and fight. Out there and at 'em, show 'em your might. Come on, St Kilda, don't let 'em in. Fight like the devil, get out there and win.
Sorry, I made those words.
We feel pretty good.
Come on, St Kilda, in there and fight. Out there and at 'em, show 'em your might. Come on, St Kilda, don't let 'em in. Celebrate with us dreams, get out there and win. Get out there and win.
Throughout the 97 season, St Kilda has shown a new maturity in handling off-field distractions. Again, this week they've been tested with Stuart Lowe's report and Nicky Winmar's absence because of his father's illness. Neil Cordy is at Moorabbin, and Neil, I'm sure Nicky is keen to do well on Sunday.
Yeah, Steve, I'm sure he is. He's one of those few St Kilda players in the current crop that experienced some final success back in '92, but there's a real feeling here at Moorabbin tonight that this team could go certainly better than that and perhaps all the way. But it has been a traumatic year for Nicky Winmar. He's had plenty of support from the club and also from the thousands of supporters that have come here tonight at Moorabbin. They gave him a great reception when he got out onto the track, and he's trained well and with plenty of enthusiasm, as you'd expect. Before training, I spoke with his coach Stan Alves and asked him how he was feeling.
Well, I think he's as good as to be expected. I mean, obviously a lot of personal problems in his life, but as he said to me that, you know, he's using this as a spur. I mean, he now obviously has got something very, very important to play for, and that's his dad, and so, you know, he just wants to make sure that he does his father proud.
It really has been a tremendously tough year for him personally.
Oh, it's been, it's probably one of those years that he's going to look back on and just think, gee, all the emotions that he's had to go through. And I suppose that what we're hoping is that it finishes, you know, on the right frame for us.
It seems now there's a great expectation of you to walk over Brisbane. How's that affecting? Is that filtering through to the players?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, we've talked a fair bit about Brisbane's performance against West Coast. I thought they were superb. You know, it was probably 10 or so minutes into the third quarter before West Coast headed them. And even at that point of time, I thought that they were a bit unlucky. They had some shots that hit the post and stuff like that, and they could have been a bit further in front. So, I mean, if we underestimate them, we'd be very, very silly.
Stan Alves there. The other news here is that David Sirakowski is the man tipped to take over the ruck job from the injured Lazar Vidovic. But the good news here at Moorabbin is the return of favourite son Nicky Winmar. Craig Hutchison is at Arden Street watching the North Melbourne go around. And Craig, I believe they're welcoming back another favourite son themselves this week.
Yeah, trained for the first time all week tonight, returning from nursing his terminally ill father in Perth. Although he has Stan Alves worried.
It is a massive challenge for him. He really has hardly had sort of a 4-week period where he hasn't had some turmoil in his life.
The Saints can't wait to get their hands on the Lions. North Melbourne...
With just 2 days to go before the grand final, St Kilda ruckman Peter Everett is the talk of the town. Will he play or won't he? A mere 3 weeks after fracturing his collarbone, Everett is training at Moorabbin tonight in a last-ditch effort to play in the big one. Let's cross live to Craig Hutchison. Craig, give us the verdict. How is Spider going?
Well, Quarters, in general terms, he has moved all right tonight, but he hasn't done anything on the track to suggest that his shoulder is fully fit. He's only been fairly tentative on the track, a little bit ginger with that left shoulder. It is heavily strapped underneath his Guernsey, and he is doing everything he can. He has actually taken a couple of overhead marks, including one just then behind me, and the roar that greets those marks is unbelievable. It really is an unbelievable thing down here tonight. That itself has been a fantastic spur to St Kilda players who have been out training. Just the fact that he is there and doing everything he can. Make no bones about it, though, Cause I don't give him any hope of playing on the weekend. I don't think he's any chance judging on what he's done tonight, but I suppose we will have to wait and see. Before training, Spider Everett was more confident, and here's what the big fella had to say.
Put my hand up. Look at that, hey? Magician. Yeah, no, I've got good movement in it.
What kind of chance do you give yourself?
I'm just going to go out there, and I've done a few skills in that during the week, so I'm just going to go out there and put a bit of pressure on myself and see how I can handle the ball and mark and run taking the ball tonight. See how I go at it.
What about physical contact?
I think that's a part of training with our running drills and that. I'm just going to try and do everything at training, and if it pulls up sore, it's no good. If it doesn't, well, I'll put my hand up for selection.
Peter Everett there, and he hasn't done really any contact work today. Whether that's done tomorrow or not remains to be seen, but once again, I don't give him any hope. Coach Stan Alves was very pessimistic also this afternoon in his press conference. He said he would absolutely have to train the house down tonight to play. Here's what Stan Alves had to say this afternoon.
I don't expect him to come through. I mean, he's really done nothing up until now to suggest that he's ahead of his rehabilitation. And he's going to go and have a run tonight, but I would think that it's as much for him to convince himself that he couldn't play. I think it's something that I don't want him carrying for the rest of his life, that perhaps he could have, and if he didn't give it his best shot. So I mean, we're doing that, but I mean, he hasn't been able to join in any of our main training sessions to date, and playing in a position of contact in the ruck. So I don't expect him. I mean, I'll be over the moon if he proved me wrong, but.
Stan Alves there. The players are getting an amazing reception behind me as they go through their final paces for tonight. A few of the crowd's favourites, of course, Nicky Winmar, who has had a traumatic week, and also Austin Jones. A couple of the old stagers here at St Kilda are especially pumped for the weekend's game against Adelaide. Jamie Shanahan and Stuart Lowe have been through some trying times with the St Kilda Football Club. Here's with their thoughts on the big game this afternoon.
Just the whole key, I think, is to enjoy it and not get too uptight about it all. And yes, it has been different to other weeks, there's no doubt about that, but I've really enjoyed it. And coming down to training with a few thousand people here, it's not hard to get motivated for it, and I'm really enjoying it. I think all the other guys are as well. But as I said, we've just got to really just keep a lid on it and remain totally committed and focused to what we're going to do for the 2 hours before we can actually lift the cup up at the end of the day.
Obviously, the attention from all of you guys is polarised a bit on us, but that aside, training's been pretty much the same as it has been, for most of the year, so it hasn't been vastly different.
What I'm mainly thinking about is that first bounce and what I'm going to do when that ball comes near me the first time. And I think that's just the way you've got to treat it. And then after that, you've got to think about when the footy's going to come near you again. And that's just the way I'm looking at it. And really, it's an old cliche, but you've just got to treat it second by second, contest by contest, quarter by quarter, and then the result will take care of itself at the end. And that's what we've really been trying to push to all the players.
Stuart Lowe there, and his co-captain Nathan Burke has moved swiftly tonight. No question of a knee injury there, and he will play this weekend. I still stick to the word that I reckon there'll be one change, Shane Wakeland for Matthew Young. The word from the Crows is that the wet weather or the cold weather forecast will have a big impact on their side, and it may just get Simon Tregenza, the forgotten wingman, across the line to play the Saints on the weekend. Regardless of that, it has been a big week. And
there was a larger crowd at the final training session than match days a few years ago. For St Kilda, this is a celebration.
We're in the cheer squad, so we'll be there doing happy.
What do you think about Saturday?
Yeah, we're gonna win!
Some have gone to extreme lengths to show their true colours. Richard Reeves named the #1 fan after painting his car. If the worst happens Saturday, what happens to the car?
I'll burn it. No, I'll still drive it around.
I must say, I've never seen anyone go that far, but it's terrific.
Come Saturday, the Saints hope to add a second premiership trophy to their 1966 Cup.
I'm excited and I'm enjoying it, but I'm certainly not nervous yet. The nerves will probably kick in sometime on Saturday morning, I think. That's normally what happens with me.
Matty, how are the nerves, mate?
Yeah, they're not too bad at the moment. I think tomorrow I'll probably come on a little bit more with the grand final parade, but at the moment I feel all right, pretty relaxed.
This is a club that's experienced more pain than any other. It's finished on the bottom of the ladder a record 25 times. So today, die-hard St Kilda fans are pinching themselves. Just the possibility of a second premiership is a dream come true. For Ozzie Jones, a premiership would be a special 21st present. Say to him.
Happy birthday,
Tommy Emmanuel and James Morrison are tuning up in the centre of the MCG for a Saints revival. On Saturday, they'll perform another number with Marina Pryor as part of the grand final entertainment.
I'm free and I'm just wrapped. I'm a bit nervy.
The Saints have waited 26 years for another grand final day appearance, and Collingwood fanatic Colleen Hewitt has been in the wings nearly as long.
Yeah, I've always wanted to sing at the grand final, and finally, it's happened.
While the massive cast worked on their moves, Barry Breen was on the members' wing, trying to improvise the mongrel punt that made him a hero with the halo in '66.
It's taken by Green. That's a point. That's a point. St Kilda in front.
Back then, they didn't create a donut in his honour, but 25,000 have been gobbled up so far. And the 800 tickets to the Ponsford stand released by the MCC produced more than 100,000 calls in the 36 minutes it took them to sell. 93-year-old Tom Reynolds checked himself out of a Newcastle hospital and caught a train to make the grand final.
I've even got some throat lollies to barrack with, so I get a crook throat where I can take a lolly or two.
Die-hard fans are already breaking out the red, white and black, even dressing the statue of Tommy Bent, just like they did when they won in '66. Darren Linton, 7 Nightly News.
Welcome back to Moorabbin, where Spider Everett has attempted to prove his fitness for Saturday's grand final against Adelaide. The big Spider, who recently underwent shoulder surgery, only trained at half pace tonight and concedes he's no chance to play.
Everett was upbeat when he arrived at training, but wasn't prepared to forecast the outcome of his miraculous bid to press for selection.
I'm just going to try and do everything at training, and if it pulls up sore, it's no good. If it doesn't, well, I'll put my hand up for selection.
Everett stayed out on the track, soaking in the atmosphere of the huge crowd, but no stage did he extend himself or do anything that would suggest he was a serious chance to play. Despite it being Alves' first grand final as coach, he continues to show a relaxed face to the media. He maintains he and the side are ready for whatever the Crows throw at them on Saturday.
This is a massive experience. I mean, this is the first off, and if we come out of this and we haven't learned, win, lose or draw, well, we're just crazy. And I think the important thing is that after the result of this is that we sit down and analyse.
One player over the moon is the nuggety Rod Keogh, who has resurrected his career with 2 hard-hitting displays during the finals.
Even up to 3/4 of the way through the season, I'm probably fighting for me football life.
Chief goal kicker Jason Heatley has also had a remarkable season after being discarded by the Eagles last season. He's looking to add to his 70-goal tally.
Guys, don't mind, shooting a goal from anywhere. I like to back myself.
And while St Kilda Premiership heroes Barry Breen, Cowboy Neal and Yabby Jeans will watch the grand final from the comfort of the stands, another of the stars from 1966 will be out in the middle again. Trainer Cam Whiffen has been with the Saints for 33 years.
Amid the chaos that is grand final week, Stan Alves found a few hours to relax and turned to legendary St Kilda clubman Ken Whiffen for a leisurely 18 holes. Ken joined the club in 1964 and believes Alves' team is the best he's seen.
I can't see us getting beat, really. I really can't.
When the siren signalled St Kilda's first and only premiership, no one looked more excited than Whiffen, almost smothering victorious coach Alan Jean. The 70-year-old retired warehouse manager has been one of St Kilda's most loyal servants, strapping and massaging thousands of damaged limbs and aching muscles.
I'll just be pleased on Saturday night after we won the grand final that there'll be no more. Kenny, what about the 66 grand final?
And the players love him.
He's the grumpiest bloke at the club. He's always he gets into you when you walk in the train and, oh, you skinny little so-and-so, and even the old blokes, he gets into them.
The kids, just talking to the kids, and they make it worthwhile, they're a great bunch of kids. This is why I'm pretty sure that, we'll pull it off, is because of the character of the boys.
Mark Doran, 7 Nightly News.
And while the Saints have been feted by a huge crowd of around 15,000 tonight, the Crows...
Parade. A huge crowd turned out in the city. Saints and Crows players greeted with cheers and jeers along the route.
For Saints fans, it was seventh heaven. A premiership in the offing, many in the crowd barely old enough to remember the last.
Dreams always come true, for sure. We were going to be there one day, and 30 years is worth waiting for.
Under threatening skies, supporters of all shapes and sizes came to pay homage. Crows fans lost in a sea of red, white and black. Far from a traditional Melbourne sporting welcome, but these were the Crows, here to steal football's holy grail.
I knew there was a lot of St Kilda people there, but I thought there was a couple of Crows people. They were the loudest.
The gospel, according to St Kilda, was contagious. Most Melburnians, Saints fans for a day.
The whole of Melbourne's really jumped on board, and it is fantastic.
The cheers are just sensational, and when they're cheering for St Kilda, it's even better, I think.
Everyone, old and young, in on the act.
It's Victoria versus South Australia, and we live in Victoria. So go the Saints!
In its 20-year history, this is the biggest and certainly one of the more boisterous grand final parades Melbourne has ever seen. The atmosphere electric, with 100,000 screaming fans packed along the city streets. Jeers again as the Crows made their way to the parade dais. Cheers, of course, to the hometown heroes. Their grasp on the cup, a solid hometown prediction. Darren Lunny, 10 News.
And in the Saints' heartland, more displays of unbridled devotion. It seems just about everyone is gripped by footy fever.
Desperate and ticketless St Kilda fan Tony Verdi stoops to new levels in the quest for grand final tickets.
It's worth the embarrassment, guys.
Shaved from head to toe, he was then painted in Saints colours on the steps of Flinders Street Station, the proud winner of 2 tickets thanks to a radio competition.
Tony, this is pretty desperate stuff.
It is indeed, actually. It's a desperate time, desperate measures.
We're going to win the place! This new level of desperation not lost on other Saints fans.
I'm not quite sure I'd do that. I've done some things, but not that.
If I had to, I'd do it.
And it seems no statue is safe from the clutches of footy fans. Former politician and Premier of Victoria, Sir Thomas Bent, the latest casualty. In St Kilda, even more displays of footy madness, with red, white and blue banners proudly displayed on several streets. Although the St Kilda team moved from St Kilda to Moorabbin in the 1960s, you wouldn't know it by the enormous amount of support visible all over this suburb, from which the team took its name in 1873.
We haven't forgotten them. There's a huge amount of support in the city for the Saints.
Local watering holes led the charge, going big on support, but not to be outdone by dozens of shop traders and local residents. Car dealers also driving home the message.
St.Kilda!
But Crows supporters remained defiant, even venturing into enemy territory.
I think it's going to be very tough. It's a very tough game, but I think we're going to overcome them.
If that happens, Saints fans agree they'll lose more hair overnight than poor old Tony.
Let's go, Saints! Let's go!
Kim Carter, 10 News.
Round 1, March 29, and the Saints met the Hawks, who kicked 5 goals to none in the opening term. Harvey did his best, but they were 6 points in arrears at the final siren.
Run down by Lowe. It spills to Harvey. He sees daylight. Robert Harvey kicked the goal. Beautiful.
Superb effort, Gary Lyon.
In round 2, they melted at the Gabba, thrashed by Brisbane by 97 points. Next, a fiery encounter at Waverley against Collingwood. Winmar and Heatley were the key players. St Kilda's first win for the year.
Beautifully. Check side by Heatley. Oh, don't tell me he's kicked back. What a goal. That is magnificent.
Then at Waverley they met Sydney and Tony Lockett. The Swans home by 46 points.
Stafford beaten, but it's Kelly out of the middle. Under no pressure, he spears it in towards Lockett.
Across the Nullarbor and the Dockers at Subiaco. Stuart Lowe was in great touch, but the Dockers won by 6 points. Things were looking bleak.
Here, if in fact they're going to win it. What a terrific mark. Allen 65 metres out, Bacon Square. It could run on. It has. It's a goal. Quick hand pass.
A confidence-boosting 86-point win over a depleted Melbourne put them back on track.
Melbourne in all sorts of trouble here. Everett again. Well done, a goal.
In round 7, they took on Port Adelaide at Waverley. A 65-point win gave them another boost. Things were looking up. 3 in a row in a classic match against Essendon at the MCG. The Saints were into the 8.
Saints coming. Presenting Lucas with a run. He's not nimble enough. Jones steals it 40 metres out. This will bring the house down. He's kicked the goal.
In round 9, they belted the Tigers. It was close at three-quarter time. In the final term, the Saints were rampant, kicking 9 goals.
Open goal. Another one for the Saints.
A slight hiccup in round 10 when they lost to Geelong by 28 points, but they were still in the 8.
And he has... Oh, he's kicked the goal! Oh, Mansfield's got the loose man here at half forward. Stephen King races in the goal with a wobbly kick and it bounces over the pack for a goal.
Another trip to Perth, and the might of West Coast crumbled. The Saints' first win over the Eagles in Perth. A 7-goal first term was a big help.
There's Joel Smith off the ground.
The running brigade took on the Blues, led by Austin Jones. A big 31-point victory.
He burns them off. 48 metres out. What a goal by Aussie!
To round 13, and after the state game, the Western Bulldogs showed they were keen for September action with a 17-point win at Waverley.
Johnson! Yes!
Round 14 belonged to Jason Heatley. 9 goals and a 54-point win over the reigning premier.
15 metres out. He's kicked number 8.
Adelaide proved too strong at home. Harvey, though, finished with 42 possessions.
Inside 50, Harvey kicks. I think he's gold, Robert Harvey.
Back on the winners list in round 16. The Hawks were no match for the might of the Saints forward line. A 79-point win.
Oh, Lappin, great control and kicks a goal.
Round 17 was Nicky Winmar Day. He celebrated his 200th league game with a blistering performance. The Saints by 48 points over the Lions. Collingwood were next at the MCG. Smith was on fire early, but did his knee later in the game. Spider saw the Saints home by 22 points.
Everett at the back. Yes, the mark. No, he has to play on. Snaps, and he's got it.
By round 19, they were in second place on the ladder, and they went to Sydney. And they went to town, breaking the Swans' 20-game streak at the SCG.
Lappin, great shot. That's the winner.
The wind blew at Waverley. The Dockers were blown away. In a dire struggle, the winning run was intact. 5 in a row. 13 points the margin.
Man who kicked the last goal. What can he do here? Thompson, he's got another one. The game is safe, you would think now.
Round 21, they were top of the ladder. Heatley was on top of the heap. 5 goals in the opening term against Melbourne, a 52-point triumph.
Lovely long kick, straight kick.
The last home and away round at a trip to Football Park. Port were never in the hunt. St Kilda were minor premiers.
Everett, who shoots from 46 metres, and St Kilda are going to go to the top of the ladder.
The 4th qualifying final. For the 2nd time this year, they beat Brisbane into submission.
10 minutes into the 3rd quarter. Good mark by Keogh. Hits the ground running. Rod Keogh, breeze at his back. Goal!
Then into the 2nd preliminary final, their first for 25 years. The reigning premiers were humbled. The Saints home under lights by 31 points.
Heatley from about 40 metres out has got another one. That's 5. Harvey pokes it inside 50. Look at Thompson go. He gives it across to Nicky Winmar. Go for goal, Nicky! The Saints are through. Bring on the grand final.